So Ford has announced some big price cuts in the Mach-E. It is a fire sale. It is a President's Day sale. Who knows? Who cares? It's a big deal, but there are some caveats. And here to talk with me about it is Jim, the Iowa Tesla guy. I'm Brian. Welcome to Future Raza. Jim, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Or hello for the first time for
Oh,
the other video may have aired tomorrow.
very
Either
nice to meet
way,
you.
very nice to meet you. It's like in Birdcage when he said, so may I take your coat as usual or for the first time?
Exactly.
Very fun. So we're talking today about Ford. Ford has announced some pretty aggressive price cuts on the Mach-E, but on the Lightning, we're talking about how they're cutting production. You know, they cut production for this year there to match demand. That's not a good sign. Ford's losing money on the Lightnings and the Mach-E's. What do you think about that? What's going on there?
I have a friend who's got a Ford F-150 Lightning. I had a chance to drive it. It's a solid truck. I mean, it's a truck. It's there's really nothing fundamentally wrong with it. And the Ford F-150 is one of the most popular vehicles on the road, gas cars. So the question is, why aren't they selling a lot of electric vehicles? Now, for me, I think there's a lot going on. Maybe there was a bit of that everyone has to be in the EV space, so everybody started flooding the market with EVs. So maybe they did make a little bit uh, more than they needed to. But I think for me, it's the charging infrastructure. I think that's really dragging down all of the non-Tesla vehicles, all the CCS vehicles. And until they have full access to a robust charging network, I do think those types of EVs are going to have a more difficult time.
And I think existing Ford Lightnings are going to be just continue to struggle because the charge port is in the wrong spot.
Yeah,
Until new stations are built or new trucks are built, you could even just move it from the driver's front to the passenger's front, and then you could just front in instead of backing in to a normal
exactly.
Tesla charger. That would probably be long enough to reach. So, yeah, I think the high price has been a bit of an issue. So then we've got this problem. See, they've only made 35, 36,000 of them, and it appears that 10,000 plus are still on dealer lots.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And we're seeing kind of the same thing with the Mach-E, which has seen its big price cuts. They have only made 108,667. Did that freehand. Don't know if you can tell.
Oh,
Uh,
looks
of
great.
which, thank you, of which no fewer than 17,752 remain. That's like, in both cases, we're talking like 15% of their lifetime production. Oh, on the Mach-E, it's better than on the Lightning. On the Lightning, that's probably a third, maybe
Yeah, it's a lot.
25% of their lifetime production. So that's channel stuffing. When you keep giving the dealers cars that they haven't moved yet, giving them a couple extra too many of something, those count as sales on the financials. That's not
Absolutely.
that's not dishonest. It's not fraud. It's just how the accounting is done. The money has changed hands. They have been sold. But those dealers cannot take any more, and they will not take any more. And the caveat I mentioned in the intro is on the Mach-E, that big $8,000 price cut is only on the 2023 models, not the 24s.
Hmm.
Now you're close enough to Michigan and have owned cars in your life. What time of year does the new model come out? Typically, a 24 came out in,
September.
yeah, I think September is about right. And it
Yeah, September.
varies by manufacturer. So the 24s have been out since September, October, November, December, January, February. We're 6 months through the model year, and they've got too many 2023s that they can't clear. That's that's a problem.
It's a huge problem.
What do you think could save them? What could help Ford out of this pickle?
I think one of their big holdbacks at this point, honestly, is the dealership market. I've talked to so many dealerships and people that have tried to purchase EVs through a traditional dealership process, and the people that they're working with, frankly, just don't understand EVs. They don't understand why they're in the lot. They don't have any idea how to sell them. I really think they have an infrastructure and education problem on their hands between legacy automakers, and they're trying to do it the old way and the new way at the same time, and they're just fundamentally struggling. Now, how do they move that old inventory? Well, you need to have a robust education system, being able to communicate to your people exactly what the thing can do and what it can't do and why you need it or why this is the best car for you. You need a robust charging infrastructure, which we haven't had up to this point with the CCS market. Hopefully that will change with the announcement that Ford is now starting to put out adapters, or at least talking about putting out adapters to allow it to tie into the Tesla supercharging network. But they got to figure this thing out. It's likely that they're going to go back to the drawing boards and try to figure this out. They're a big automaker, and they've got a little more runway compared to maybe a Lucid or a Rivian, where they've got all their eggs in one basket.
Ford does have the luxury of having high margin, high profit, majority of their business still running smoothly.
Hmm.
I had dinner with a finance manager, a former finance manager. He's on a sabbatical right now. He's not sure if he's going back. Too stressful. But he was a finance manager at a Corvette dealership and then a Hyundai dealership. And what he said is, I said, I get the impression dealerships don't want to sell EVs because there's, I don't know, for whatever reason. And he said, that is not a perception. That is a reality.
Hmm.
We can't sell the prepaid oil charge changes. We can't sell most of the BS that comes with, you know, all the features are already there. The cars come loaded. There's nothing left to sell them. I mean, I guess you could try and get them on some paint protection film, but the extended warranty, a lot of these buyers don't plan to hold them past the manufacturer's warranty anyhow. So
Yeah.
that's a big part of what you were saying, and it's correct.
Hmm.
Um,
That's a very good point. It's also just hit me that a lot of these dealerships base the majority of their income on servicing these cars over a period of time. And EVs, frankly, have if they're built well, are have less things go wrong with them, and they do break, but you're not replacing an engine or, like you said, oil changes, transmission fluid. Um, a lot of their business might just kind of go away, and I think there's a lot of people in the legacy auto business that are just trying to hold on to the gas past and try and slow it as much as they can.
Well, at the manufacturer level, you've got all the big automakers have spent the last 20 years convincing their customers that EVs will never work. And now they
Mhm.
have to turn around and try and convince them, well, we solved it. But if you look at something like, I was looking at the difference between a performance Model Y and a Tesla Model Y performance and a Ford Mach-E GT. And the
Mhm.
interesting thing was, all the dimensions are about the same. With the new lower price, it's about the same. But Ford doesn't qualify. None of their vehicles qualify for the federal incentive.
That's
And
big.
that's it's crushing. You might get a
Yeah.
state one, state by state, and the Mach-E is 600 pounds heavier. The battery, your range is 2% longer because you got a 20% bigger battery, a much bigger battery to go 2% more range in a 600. I mean, 600 pounds, that's a lot of extra car.
It's a lot of car, a lot of extra car.
Yeah. So do you think what they are selling today can save them, or do we just need to close that chapter and move on to the next cars they build?
I don't know if the Mach-E in its current form is going to be saved. I think they also have some branding trying to call it a Mustang. I think it might have been better off getting away from the Mustang branding. But that aside, I Ford's going to go where the money is, and I think they're going to eventually go where the future is. It just may happen a little slower than they want it, or may actually happen faster than they want it, because Tesla's dragging them a lot faster than I think they want to go. They would rather slow roll this and do it at their own pace. Um, they're very much the model right now where I outsource everything. And if you've owned a Ford car, and I've owned several in my life, my wife's grandfather was a Ford dealership owner in Iowa, and you know that they don't understand software in cars. The software is just not in their DNA. Everything that Ford has put in a car has just been flat out horrible. And even the latest and greatest software in the F-150 Lightning and Mach-E doesn't even compare to what you'd get in a Rivian or a Tesla vehicle. So they have a real problem because they aren't in control of those things right now. And I think in order for them to figure out the EV space, they gotta bring a lot of that in house. And I don't know that they're going to be able to make that transition very successfully.
It's crazy. So, by the way, on the name of the Mach-E, I got to speak with a I don't know if you saw the teardown that Sandy Munro did. He was not amused by the cooling system that they used.
I
And
saw
I got
that.
to meet the engineer who designed it. And
Oh,
I got
really?
to interview him on camera. And I said, why is it a Mustang? And he said, oh, it wasn't. It was an Explorer. It was literally an Explorer. One day we came in and found out it was a Mustang. And the reason they did that was because they didn't have enough batteries and they were afraid if they called it an Explorer, the demand would outstrip their ability to make them. So,
Well, they have a
so
lot of batteries sitting in the lots collecting dust right now, not sold. So
change the front end and call it a Ford Edge. Maybe that'll do the trick.
it might help.
It honestly might help. You're going to get you can redesign the Mach-E as it is today and gain a little bit of efficiency, a little bit of cost savings, but I don't think that's the solution. I think you need a clean sheet design of something new that's just purpose built. We were assured, Jim, you and I were assured for 20 years that as soon as the legacy guys flip the switch, it's over. They're going to make something that's cheaper, that's faster, that's more reliable, more appealing.
Hmm.
And it turns out that hasn't happened.
Nope, it
Oh,
has not. We're still waiting.
any day now, any day.
Yep,
And I think
next Tuesday, 2 weeks. Elon's 2 weeks, and then for them it might be 2 years. Who
it's
knows what they're
always,
saying will be? But
well, in 2 years, we're going to have dozens of vehicles. I went to GM's booth on press day at the Detroit Auto Show, and they did not have anyone from the PR department available to talk. So that was
oh,
a good sign. And the guy I was able to talk to said, "Well, what would your questions be?" I said, "They are literally allowed to just repeat the presentation, but just to camera." He's like, "Oh yeah, let me see if anyone's." Nope, they're all gone. They all left, all of them
how funny
at
that.
3:30 at a show that closes at 7. So that's a good sign. That's very encouraging for shareholders of other companies, I guess. I don't know.
They all had to run out and charge their Chevy Bolts. So
Uh, my friend from the Michigan Owners Club, Kelly, was out at she runs an adopt a supercharger program where they go out and pick up
mm,
litter, but they also wear vests and they also go out and engage with the public. They always find new drivers who need some tips. And she saw right next to the supercharger was an Electrify America station with a big long line. And there was
mhm.
a plaid sitting in that line. And she went over and said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, why are you
She,
here?
she said, "I work for GM. I was told to take the car home for the weekend. We're not turned on to use the chargers. I have
Oh,
to sit."
jeez.
And she goes, "Well, now you know the experience for non-Tesla owners. You've watched 10 cars come and go, and you're still
Yeah.
sitting here." So that was a little bonkers, a little crazy. Um, I'm hopeful for Ford. I haven't seen anything yet that gives me tremendous confidence. So we'll
Not
see.
yet. They'll figure it out. They're a big enough company. They're going to be around a long time. They have the cash to stumble a few times and fall down and get back up, and they'll come out with something eventually. And I think once they have some commonality in the charging network that they can draw off of, I think you're going to start seeing people start looking their way a little bit more.
I think so too. The charging network in Europe is universal.
Mhm.
Any car can go anywhere and it works and it's helped adoption significantly. So
100%.
I'm going to mention again in case or for the first time uh, that in June we're doing this event in Michigan. Jim may be there. He has promised to try. It's not going to be a
Working
big
hard.
working hard on it because
Yes,
at the very least, if he gets out there, we can do more of these interviews, except in person. Where I don't
absolutely.
know. I love getting out of the studio. You guys know that. Thanks to those who use my referral credits so that I can get supercharging miles to go on these adventures. And I'll have, once version 12 of FSD comes out, I'll be able to subscribe to that for a period of time using those miles. Thank you all so much for making that possible. Let's see, anything else we're forgetting? I think that's about it. Did I forget anything, Jim?
Oh, I'm sure we did, but we'll figure that out later.
Well, let's have everyone in the comments tell us A, what we missed, what we misunderstood, and B, you're coming to Michigan, right, everybody? We're going to see you there. It's a free
Absolutely.
event. It's a free event. You guys got to come. So like, subscribe, do the usual things. Head down to Jim's channel. His links in the description. He's also pretty active on thex.com.
Yep.
So that's a lot of fun. And everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual things. Hit the thummy thing in either direction. It's purely decorative. It still counts as engagement. And stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots at Heritage Park in Muskegon.